And this is actually an opportunity for me to redress a wrong, which is I didn't give a big shout out to Jody, but she took on all the tech for tonight, and I'm so appreciative of that. So thank you, Jody.
Okay, I just start. Hi, everybody. What do you want to talk about? And there's a mic we can pass. Okay, so I didn't have much time to talk about the three dimensions of the Great Journey. So maybe we can I'll mention one of the three, and then you will pop up and say something that's happening here in that dimension. You see, we have to do a lot of things in as you know, that the battlefront, the waterfront is very wide. Because this is a revolution, and I like reminding myself of that, this transition to a life-sustaining society. I prefer that to sustainable, don't you? Yes. Sustainable is, yeah, we've seen what people would do for sustainable profits. So, what is really important, it seems to me, to realize, for me to realize, and for us all, is that what is going on now is as important a revolution, shift, turning, metanoia has ever happened in the human species. It's as important as what happened in the late Neolithic about 30,000 years ago, when we settled down and began cultivating food. That is, a lot of us, not all of us, but that changed the dominant culture. Big time. Changed our relationship to time, to each other, to our hands, to we started writing, we started praying, etc., etc. And then, a bunch later, just 300 years ago in England it started, came the next big revolution. What was that?
Industrial.
Yeah. And boy, did that change everything. That got, and for every dimension of our thought and use of the earth and regulation of our time, and it unleashed so much. And right on the heels of that comes this. And you know who was the first I knew of who spoke about these three revolutions? That away, Aiden. That's good. No. Just watch it. Was under Nixon, the first EPA, head of EPA, William Ruckelshaus, and he said, this is as big a revolution that must happen now as anything we've known before these other two. And he said, but there's one difference. It has to happen faster. And it has to be chosen. It has to be conscious. We have to know what we're doing. Usually, in our history, we're caught up in some great tidal change of history, and we're not. We're just not even aware of it. Here we have to make ourselves aware and take part in it and dare to do things that we see necessary, and dare to dismantle what isn't working, and dare to try new ways that are life-sustaining, honoring the earth. And then, as was just whispered in my ear by a lovely person, said that that third dimension is, so what are the three? Let's talk about the first. What's happening here in Brattleboro or in Western Mass around the first dimension, which we call holding actions, that is slowing down the destruction caused by the industrial growth society.
Well, there's a big awareness of energy conservation through the Vermont legislature, well through agencies that work with the legislature, and that's making people aware of things that are more comfortable, less costly, and of course helping the planet with the lower carbon footprint. So that's been going on.
And efforts to close the Vermont Yankee.
Oh.
You are closed.
That's what going on.
It is closed, isn't it?
Yes.
You just don't know what to do with it. Still celebrating. Maybe you can talk louder.
It's the local food movement.
Yep. Local food. Who's involved in that here?
There's more and more of a local investing movement. A movement to, just invest your retirement dollars over.
And where is that showing up? In churches, schools? This is divestment.
No, invest.
Oh, investment.
Yeah.
Investing in
Local businesses, biodiesel refineries, food co-ops, energy co-ops, community first fund through Common Capital and Holyoke, things like that.
What was the question, is what she asked.
Oh, well, we've been talking about, I ended up toward the end and felt it was a little short about the Great Turning and these three dimensions of it. And I wanted to know if you guys wanted to tell me or tell each other what you see happening here.
I was saying there's really wonderful people in Brattleboro who started the Hive, which is a mutual support network for people that want to support each other outside the system and hold really awesome conversations. Had a day called Creative Maladjustment Day, Mad Pride Day, which really inspired people to talk about lots of stuff. Important things.
What else? What's the Great Turning here have? What's it doing? More?
Natural gas pipeline.
Yes.
We've been fighting natural gas pipeline.
Yes.
Yeah, we do have some victories to celebrate with Maine Yankee and gas pipelines. I mean Maine, I'm from Maine, Vermont Yankee.
Well, what would you like me to tell you?
One of the things, I've studied you, Joanna, I've taken 3 conferences with you in the past couple of years, but one of the things I found the most inspiring was this notion of systems theory and how we're all connected and how our connections are evolving. And does that make any sense to talk about that?
I am experiencing an awakening wherever I go, and it's not just on the coast, California, East Coast, but it's anywhere. A realization, first of all, awakening to first of all, a sense that the earth is alive. It's a living system. That's catching on so fast. It's just amazing. When I was in graduate school 40 years ago, in the religion department, there's no talk about that. And now, what do you get? You have people, you have indigenous voices making themselves heard. People, from nations, First Nation people, coast to coast, and in Canada, north of the border. And of course, our eyes have been riveted on Standing Rock and the powerful, brilliant way that has been. You want to tell how we learned that the decisions were made for that?
Mm-hmm. So Standing Rock, North Dakota right now has between 4,000 and 7,000 protesters, many of them from... Protectors, thank you. Very important distinction. But many of them from representing over 100 tribes in this country. And we learned that the head of the tribe, the Sioux people that are right there, said we started with prayer. We started with counsel and listening to one another, and we made a decision to stand together. Even if all of the details are not sorted out, we decided as a First Nations people, all those different tribes have said no to this pipeline that is supposed to be 1,200 miles long and $3-point-something billion, and it's a big corporate force. And they've said no, and there is an encampment they're planning to hold onto for the whole winter. So it's really an amazing opportunity for voices that have been silenced to be heard.
And I think that through the, and I don't know more, the voices that are coming from First Nation people in Canada and around the tar sands, that acceleration of those giving us more and more clear guidance, and a lot of them are women, and the Environmental Indigenous Network and these marches, whether again around tar sands pipelines and also nuclear establishments to protest them. So that is one avenue where we're beginning to experience. We're hearing people, ancient people, speaking out about Earth, our Earth being alive, and feeling it, and they act with such a trust in it. That's why they don't need to do more. They don't want to make every strategic step and blueprint of how it's going to, who's going to do what and what step, and because they experience themselves being guided by the spirit of Earth, Mother Earth. And this is bringing forth our strength. Or even a couple of years ago, maybe some of you down here, that direction, or the Truro Wampum along the Hudson, from the Haudenosaunee people. Anyway, are you experiencing this in your own awareness?
Yes.
A sense that we are part of something that isn't just a big bunch of people, but something that's growing, mysterious, intelligent, magnificent, and it's our planet. It's the web of life of our planet. I was saying, quoting Rilke again, but he said, if we could trust the intelligence of Earth, we would rise up rooted like trees. Well, that sense of an intelligence of Earth, a grace of Earth, that we can give thanks to Earth, give our prayers of thanks and devotion to the living Earth. And that's happening at the same time, so that sounds spiritual. But then there is coming from science that you are mentioning. In the lifetime of many of us here, we have scientists positing that the Earth is a living system. While our economy, political economy, is treating it, as I said, like a sewer, and just or something to dig up. Extractive industries all over the place, but at the same time, and my hunch, both is what that part of me that's a historian and a cultural historian knows that when a people's understanding and vision shifts, that is what will carry the day. And that this ruinous late-stage corporate capitalism that is chewing up the earth is sort of in its death throes. It may take us down, but this birthing in us of a sense of being part of a living earth, that the living earth is something we can feel in our heart minds, that's something that we can trust, that's something that we can give our lives to, something that we can write poems about and dance to, that it can awaken the spiritual strength of our body. And that after all these centuries where science and religion were separated and contending with each other, and that these great mighty rivers are flowing together. And they're flowing together mainly around, it seems to me, what's clearest is that this earth is a living system. This earth is alive. And when something's alive, this sense in us is something that grows, that it brings forward new ways of seeing things. And it brings forward new things to feel. And it also brings forward tears for what we see happening to our world and our beings.
I do have a question. I feel what you're saying, but you said one important thing, and that is if we trust ourselves and the earth. And I'm teaching at a college, environmental studies, and I see more and more the difficulty of helping students to trust the body, trust themselves, trusting, because we are so disconnected. And I was wondering whether you have some pointers of wisdom. How do we help to that trust? Do you understand what I mean?
It's very hard with the electronic social media. Do you think and I have been reading recently about studies of what this is doing to the maturity and lack of empathy in teens, the 12-year-olds acting like 8-year-olds and so forth. With the studies, Sherry Turkle has written a book about this, and there are a number of others. So I don't know, and I have nothing to say about that. But I know that with the Great Turning, and this is part of the great unraveling perhaps, they're neck and neck. We don't know which is what is going to wait, how this is going to turn out. There are things that are getting a hell of a lot harder.
along the lines of people trusting themselves. There really is a movement nationwide around people looking at what they really care about and then putting that into how they want to be cared for. Because one of the places, to me, like tar sands in its own way, has been the healthcare system, where people, you know, it was just sort of a conveyor belt. You know, you start and then you just get all these things done because it's possible. Just like tar sands, it's possible, without asking, okay, does this make sense for the earth and for you, yourself? And so we in Brattleboro have a project, which is around helping people look at what they really care about and what they really want to do in the time they have, so that they're valuing the life that they have when they have it, and then not necessarily extending life beyond really quality. I think that's
Bringing it down into their real experiences. What is this program?
Well, we have a project called Taking Steps Brattleboro.
Uh-huh.
And it's really, you can call it an advanced care planning project, but it's under Brattleboro Hospice, which for a long time has been saying, how do you have a quality life with the time you have? And so we're working on that.
Thank you. Is it written up any? Do you have a website or?
Yeah, on the hospice website.
Okay. Good. Here, tell us.
Hi. When I hear you talk about this great turning point in our time right now, I think about how the ability for this turning point to be so intersectional and for it to really be able to embody things like reproductive justice and restorative justice and racial justice. And I was wondering if I could hear you talk about that and what your ideas might be surrounding that sort of accessibility to other areas.
I would simply say that I'm in agreement with that I find that, and that is changing so fast, how people are not being limited by old models of how they should act in relation to their, certainly their gender and also their class and economic goals, and how, and to their belief system. That there's a feeling. Do some of you have the feeling that people are just walking out of the prison conformities that have been stifling their creativity? You feel that here? So it's getting late, and I think that I would like to do a little litany. Would you get my folder? It'll be that will send us on the road. And it's a poem, but not of Rilke. Phew, I bet you say. That lady has Rilke up the kazoo. Now, all you need to say in this poem by Diane DePrimo, inspired by the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but it's really about life going on. And the inspiration was, may it come to pass that all radiances be known as our own radiance.
Diane who?
DePrimo.
Thank you.
Revolutionary Letter, number 68, Life Chant. So it's a chant. Now you may want to stand up, but it's late, so you may want to stand. It is. Oh, it's good. Good for you. Now, here we go. What you say is, may it continue.
May it continue.
Okay. Cacophony of small birds at dawn.
May it continue.
Sticky monkey flowers on bare brown hills.
May it continue.
Music on city streets in the summer nights.
May it continue.
Kids laughing on roofs, on stoops, on the beach, in the snow.
May it continue.
Triumphal shout of the newborn.
May it continue.
Deep silence of the great rainforest.
May it continue.
Fine austerity of jungle peoples.
May it continue.
Rolling fuck of great whales in turquoise ocean.
May it continue.
Clumsy splash of pelican in smooth bays.
May it continue.
Astonished human eyeball squinting through eons at astonished nebula who squint back.
May it continue.
Clean snow on the mountains.
May it continue.
Fierce eyes, clear light of the aged.
May it continue.
Right of birth and of naming.
May it continue.
Right of instruction.
May it continue.
Rite of passage.
May it continue.
Love in the morning, love in the noon sun, love in the evening among crickets.
May it continue.
Long tales by the fire, by window, in fog, in dusk on the mesa.
May it continue.
Love in thick midnight, fierce joy of old ones loving.
May it continue.
The night music.
May it continue.
Grunt of mating hippo, giraffe, foreplay of snow leopard, screeching of cats on the backyard fence.
May it continue.
Without police.
May it continue.
Without prisons.
May it continue.
Without hospitals, death medicine, flu, and flu vaccine.
May it continue.
Without madhouses, marriage, high schools that are prisons.
May it continue.
Without empire.
May it continue.
In sisterhood.
May it continue.
Through the wars to come.
May it continue.
In brotherhood.
May it continue.
Though the earth seem lost.
May it continue.
Through exile and silence.
May it continue.
With cunning and love.
May it continue.
As woman continues.
May it continue.
As breath continues.
May it continue.
As stars continue.
May it continue.
We begin the work.
May it continue.
The great transmutation.
May it continue.
A new heaven and a new earth.
May it continue.
May it continue.
May it continue.
Can I have the microphone? I have a request I would like to make of this group. I've been really deeply moved by the work of Joanna Macy for a number of years now, and it's amazing that here I am and here we all are learning together. And it needs to continue. And one way to do that is this section of the spiral of the work of Reconnects that involves going forth. And we just mentioned freedom from prisons, we mentioned the protectors at Standing Rock, and one way of going forth, which I want to propose, and it's just an offer. I made a sign, we did this earlier today with a different group of Work That Reconnects practitioners. Can we all have a group photo holding this, which says solidarity with Standing Rock and the ongoing prison strikes?
Yeah.
Ease in the photo.
May it
continue! Y'all are so beautiful.
Standing with
Standing Rock!
Let's do that one more time. I want to get that in a video. That was incredible.
Standing with Standing Rock!
And 3, 2, 1.
Standing with